You know what? Time to, well, duke it out with Dan Duquette. Let's talk about, well, a position that you're no stranger to, Dan. Let's talk about general manager jobs, and especially with the Cubs, because obviously there's a lot of rumors out there of who's going to be getting that new GM job with the Cubs. And we've heard Cashman, we've heard Theo. Who's it going to be? And right now, how does this affect those teams?
Well, I mean, that's the interesting part. You know, the Cubs are one of the great brands in baseball, and they're looking for a new GM. The owner, Tom Ricketts, who came in 2 years ago, wants to get a winning program in place, and he let Jim Hendry go. But I found it interesting that it's affected both the Yankees and the Red Sox this week, with reports that their GMs, both Brian Cashman with the Yankees and Theo Epstein with the Red Sox, are candidates for the job. And, of course, if you're the Cubs or Cubs fans, the first thing you're looking for is for an established GM with a winning track record, and both Theo and, of course, Brian Cashman fit that bill. And they have managed major market teams successfully, so I'm sure that's on the wish list for the Cubs fans. But it really doesn't play that well for the Yankees and both the Red Sox. I see Brian Cashman's comments that he doesn't want to take himself out of his current job. And Theo, although he may be interested in the job, has to be very careful because his team, of course, is playing in the playoffs. And, you know, I'm sure that the Cubs would love to get an established GM, but it's going to take a little time if they're interested in the Yankees and the Red Sox GMs, because they've been very successful.
I was going to say, what about from the perspective of the general manager? I mean, for Theo, for Brian Cashman, these guys, why would they leave? I mean, you would have to wave a pretty penny in front of their face, wouldn't you?
Well, I think so. I mean, you know, they're both well paid, and they're with successful teams. I think the attraction of the Cubs, or the lure of the Cubs, is that you can build the franchise from the ground up, because they need a complete overhaul. And let's look at the Cubs as one of the great challenges in baseball, because they haven't won a World Series in the longest time, right? The Red Sox had their long spell. The White Sox had their long spell. Well, the Red Sox won in 2004. The White Sox won in 2005. So that really leaves the Cubs. And they've got the great ballpark, Wrigley Field, and they also have the great rivalry with the Cardinals. So for an established GM, I think it's really the challenge. And you know, I remember Harry Dalton told me when I first started, every 7 or 8 years you need to look for a new challenge. So Brian Cashman's been with the Yankees for much longer than that, and I think Theo's about 7 or 8 years with the Red Sox, so I think that's why I may be attracted to him.